Good morning. What a beautiful day to be out here, especially for July. We're currently in the mid-70s, low humidity, a slight breeze. It's just gorgeous out here. I'm really excited about this hike too. So we're at Cuivre River State Park on the Big Sugar Creek Trail. This is a park I practically lived in once I got my driver's license as a teenager. I was here all the time, either solo, with friends, my brother. Just here all seasons of the year, exploring around. There are 40 miles of trails in this park. It would take a few days to really explore it all. There's a cave north of the campground that's gated off now, but back in the 70s when I was a teenager, we used to explore that quite a lot. It's a small cave, nothing spectacular, but it's still fun. But long story short, I haven't been in this park in decades. It's been a really long time. So this is kind of nostalgic and exciting. I stopped at the visitor office on the way in and talked to the ranger, and it's ticky here this year, but this park always was kind of ticky. This is about as far north as you could get in Missouri and feel like you're in the Ozarks. It's not officially the Ozarks, it's the Lincoln Hills, but the glaciers kind of miss this area that the park is in. It's hilly and rugged, like the Ozarks, surrounded by kind of the rolling farmland for miles and miles, like a little oasis. It's a neat place to go. Oh well. There's such beauty in the small things. Beautiful little flowers. So there's this one friend I had in high school, Bill, one of my best friends. We had a lot of adventures together, and we usually did them spur of the moment. We just all of a sudden get an impulse to get out there. We were in high school. I think we were both working at Target, and my brother was at a Dunkin' Donuts at the time. Got off work on a Friday night, and I said to Bill, let's load up our packs, go up to Cuivre River. And my brother wanted to go, but he had to work overnight that night, you know, a donut shop. And he said what he'd do is sleep, go to work, sleep Saturday, and then drive out and meet us for Saturday night. And we decided we'd just walk from my parents' house in St. Charles. That's a walk. I don't know how many miles it is. I don't know, 30, 40, something like that. It's a long walk. So we took off. It's dark already. I remember it was a little chilly. And we went through some back roads, Old Town St. Peter's, got up to 79, and we're going up 79, and there's this campground right off the road. It's the middle of the night, and we were tired, I mean just tired. And so we just pulled our sleeping bags out, threw them on the ground in this campground, and went to sleep. Got up the next morning. We thought we'd get up early. Oh, it was a dry creek bed crossing. We thought we'd get up early while it was still dark and sneak out of there, but we didn't make it. All the campers stirring around woke us up, looking at us like we're a couple of vagrants and should they call the police. Excuse me. So we just threw our sleeping bags in our backpacks and trucked on out of there up the road. The plan was, because we knew we wouldn't make it in time walking, was for my brother to look for us on the side of the road and pick us up wherever we happened to be at the time on his way up. But we walked up 79 to 47, and once we got into 47, we were about 10 miles from the park. guy in a pickup truck stops and asks if we want to ride. It's like, hell yeah, we do. We were beat. It's like late afternoon the next day. We've been walking all day, and he drove us to the park entrance, and then we walked, I think, the 4 or 5 miles from there back to the campground, and had camp set up before my brother got there. But he brought us a couple of dozen fresh donuts, so all was good. That was fun. They do prescribe burns here. I'm not sure how frequently, but there's evidence of a recent one in this area. I'm really happy about that. That keeps the understory open and does make it a lot more lush too. Gives you a little bit of visibility across the forest, so it adds a bit of beauty. Plus it's also duplicating the natural sort of pace of the forest the way it would be if man wasn't here to prevent the fires. Boy, they weren't kidding about the ticks. I pulled quite a few off already. I was hoping they'd all be the larger ones, easy to see, but they aren't. So solo hiking offers a lot of time for reflection, which is mostly a good thing. And I was thinking about how it seems like just before a hike, I'm tempted not to go. It's more comfortable at home. Just easier to be there, I guess. I don't know. Air conditioning, all the food's there, all the good food anyway. But then I make myself get in the car and head out. And the closer I get to my destination, the more excited I become. And when I finally get out of the car and throw on the pack and hit the trail, I'm really pumped up and ready to go. People are kind of funny, but being out here always makes me happy, regardless of the weather or conditions of the trail. I always enjoy it. So that kind of got me thinking, hello bird, what are the things that make me enjoy being out in the woods, hiking so much? I've always enjoyed being out in the woods, even when I was a boy. I was fortunate enough to have a few years where I just walk out the back door and be in 150 acres of woods to explore. That was a great time. But I would have to say now that I'm much farther down the road, the things I enjoy are the opportunity at the end of a work week to just be out for an hour or two, or half a day, or even a day, declutter your mind, relax, not really have anything going on. All I have to do is put one foot in front of the other. I like it simple like that. Really elevates my mood. And I kind of like it when nothing's happening, so to speak. I mean, yeah, I'm exploring around and seeing new things. Really satisfies that sense of curiosity in me too. But it's not like I have to be anywhere or do anything special. And that's nice. Really like the physical activity part too. It's difficult in today's world to get out in a good environment and get in a little physical activity. and that sense of adventure. It's probably the main thing, is that sense of adventure. You never know what's around the next bend, over the next ridge. How deep is that creek that you're about to walk through? That makes it a lot of fun for me. I also like that I get to overcome challenges when I'm out here, especially backpacking. Well, I guess just you never know what kind of challenge you're going to run into. I've always had a healthy respect for heights, let's put it that way. I've worked hard to overcome it, but it sort of comes and goes at this point. You know, I've tried walking along the edges of cliffs or just in precipitous places, and rock climbing. I did a lot of rock climbing, but what started me down that road was to try and overcome the fear of heights. I have to say, as long as I'm on a rope, I've never been concerned. But free soloing, I've had some sketchy moments that shook my nerves a bit. Still, great memories now. Backpacking, I'd say that fear of being alone in the dark, you know, that going to sleep in an area that you don't know what's around you. I really don't worry about wildlife. I have had a few bear encounters, especially in the middle of the night. I had one sleep against the door of my tent for an entire night one time. I have been bluff charged by a bear on the trail, but mostly it's always been black bears. They're more scared of me than I am of them, that's for sure. I keep my head down because I have run across, especially in the Ozarks, my fair share of timber rattlers and copperheads. So it's good to kind of keep an eye out there. I don't know what it is though about just the dark in the woods. I guess just because you really can't see what's going on around you. But it doesn't bother me so much anymore. It's more of a thrill than anything else. Storms can be thrilling too. In fact, I generally make it a point to get out in the woods when a big storm front's coming through. It's exhilarating to be in the woods when that front hits. You know, it could be still and quiet one moment, and the next the wind's just rushing through. I've had times where trees were falling down around me. It was so windy. And of course, leaves and debris are blowing all over the place. It instantly cools down 20, 25 degrees, which is always refreshing. And then the rain comes, and if there's lightning and thunder, that's even better. I know that's a little crazy, but it's really exhilarating to be out there during a storm. And then of course the air is filled with those negative ions. It's really rejuvenating. Then there are other moments, like today. Slightly breezy, a little toasty, it's not bad. I'm the only one out here, and it's calming and peaceful. I find that good for the soul. We're heading down into our second valley now. This one's nice and shady. There won't be much of a breeze once we get down in there, but it looks really pretty. I think we have 2 or 3 stream crossings before we get to Big Sugar Creek. Time in nature also builds confidence, especially when I'm out for multiple days at a time. It's been a while since I've done a long hike, like 100 miles or more. Hopefully this fall or winter I can knock a couple of those out, probably on the Ozark Trail. It's close. But one thing I've noticed is the confidence building. The more I do, the more I know I can do. It takes away any of the fear, knowing that no matter what comes your way, you know how to deal with it. I don't think there's really anything that compares to time in nature. Being out here renews my sense of wonder. Kind of brings out my inner child. It's one way I guess you could describe it. It's like a reset. I'm really mentally, physically, and spiritually refreshed by being out here. It's also, I guess, kind of like a reward for, just doing the day-to-day living, working, household chores, those types of things. And you do it so that you can get moments like these. But mostly, I'd say it brings joy, especially when I'm by myself. I'm not on someone else's schedule. I can take my time, explore around, just being here. We've been paralleling this creek for a while. This creek bed is really pretty. I bet it'd be really beautiful with water flowing over it. A lot of little waterfalls, big slabs of rock. It's still mossy, so it's not too dry yet. My grandson's spending a couple of days with us, and he asked me this morning what I do when I get lost in the woods. All I could answer was, well, I just wander around until I figure out where I am and then go back to the car. No better answer than that, I guess. So it's quite a bit warmer out here now. I brought a buff for this hike. I'm not going to do a repeat of the Graham Cave hike. I didn't have anything to keep the sweat out of my eyes. And all that salt, it was brutal. I don't know why. I always forget how to prepare for each season until I experience it. And it's like, oh yeah. So the stream we had been following was not Big Sugar Creek. I thought in my memory Big Sugar Creek was very large. Kind of like what they generally call a river, actually, in the Ozarks. I still call most of those like the Codaway and the Huzaw streams. But we are now at Big Sugar Creek, and there are a couple of pools, but it's mostly dry. But as you can see, it's huge. Let me show you behind the camera and one or two of the pools. It's kind of neat to walk around in. I forgot about this. Back in the 70s, there were no backpacking camps out on the trails. 40 miles of trails, That's plenty of room to add some. I think, if I recall the map correctly, there are 4 backpacking camps on various trails throughout the park. This is one of them right over here. Let's go take a look at it. I want to see what I might stay in the future. Well, this is pretty nice. A couple of fire rings, one here, one back here with some logs to sit on. I really don't see an obvious place to pitch a tent. Maybe a couple of flattish areas. There's not a lot of room here, but it's pretty slopey. Definitely some good spots for a hammock though. So this is the other fire ring with the grill that's seen some abuse, and you know, a log or two to sit on. There have been a whole lot of fires here though. So there's a stream bed off to the left. It's dry right now, but it'd be a place to get water if it was flowing. But a place that's been this heavily used, I'm not too sure. Permits are free. You get them online. It's easy to do. It's a possibility. Well, and then I could always sit here or the stump. Huh. We'll see. We're a few months out from that type of weather. For me, anyway. I swear these 4-mile trails turn into 8 miles walking back for the camera. Well, that's a pretty little stream bed down there. Looking at that gulch gives you an idea of how steep these hills are here. So in my younger days I had an uncle that lived in San Diego, and I used to love to go snorkeling out at La Jolla. So I thought one time, you know what, let me snorkel here in Lake Lincoln, see what it's like, because there were all these at the swim beach, all these weeds and grasses underwater, and they've come up to within a foot of the surface of the water, and it was always kind of strange to be in that. So I put on the gear and went out there, and big mistake, all these snakes were in all those weeds, and as they waved back and forth, the snakes did too, and they were all just below me as I was swimming around the surface. It's like, nope, I'm done swimming there. Well, the skies are overcast and the breeze is beginning to pick up. It's really nice. I love being out in the woods on overcast days. I don't know if it's going to come through on camera, but the colors are just deeper and richer. In the full sun, everything's kind of washed out. Plus, it's a little bit more cool, too. So, I was just thinking about another time I was out here as a teenager. And, of course, this is a story about teenage bravado. Not that you know what that's about, but I was out here with Brian and Bill, a couple of my friends, and it seemed like Well, whenever Bill and I were together, adventure was always to be had, that's for sure. Man, could I tell some stories, that things we experienced, but we'll do that another time. Anyway, we were at Frenchman's Bluff. In this area, it's a bluff that's is for the Cuivre River, and there's a trail there in this park, which I'll have to do another hike for. But the bluff is about 80 feet tall, and if I remember right, there was a ledge, maybe a couple of feet out, that kind of split the difference. Is about 40 feet up on the bluff, and we got down to it, and back then I thought there was no rock face I couldn't climb. So it's like, hey, you guys wait here, I'm gonna climb to the top, and then I'll either climb down or walk down based on how it goes. I get about 15 feet up, and I was flat out of places to go. There was no climbing down, there were no handholds anywhere, and I started to freak. You remember that fear of heights thing I was telling you about earlier? That kicked in big time. Of course, Brian and Bill are just like rolling around on the ground laughing. They're no help at all, but it's like, you guys, look, I've got to get down here somehow, and I've got to have your help. So here's my plan. What we're going to do is you're going to get kind of one on each side of me on this ledge, right? Because if I pinged off this rock and didn't catch myself on that ledge, it was 40 feet down. That wasn't going to feel good. So you guys are going to catch me as soon as my feet hit that ledge and keep me on that ledge. They're like, oh sure, we'll do that. But they did. So I just let go, and I fell that 15 feet. And as soon as my feet hit that ledge, they caught me and threw me against the rock, actually. That probably hurt more than anything else, but I didn't fall down that bluff. Good times. Actually just thought of actually probably the greatest joy of being alone on the trail. It takes a while, a few hours of quiet, but then it happens every time. That's the closeness I feel to God. Being out in His creation is pretty special. This is the most well-blazed trail I've ever been on. Of course, this one doesn't have long for this world, but we've got a blaze. Here we are at a 90 degree on the trail. We've got a, I forgot what that material is, but the post with an arrow on it, and then on the tree directly behind the camera is another blaze. Even though this trail is so well used, it's well defined, there are blazes everywhere. It's wonderful. There's no getting lost here. Yeah, that's fine. So I doubt this comes through on camera, but we're at the top of a bluff overlooking Big Sugar Creek. So if you look straight down, the brightness you see through the tree leaves is that rock bed for the creek. If this was a time of year when the leaves were off the trees, we'd have a spectacular view right now. We're pretty far above the creek. Maybe the brightness of the creek rock will come through better here. It's kind of odd how the human eye and the camera work. The camera picks up a lot more light and sees things better than the eye does. But something like this I can see better by eye than the camera will pick up. Maybe it's just because of how the camera focuses too. Okay, so I'm fairly positive the camera is going to pick up the creek bed in this shot. It's really an expansive bed. I could see a huge tree down in the middle of it, a small pool. Wow, I've got to come back here when the leaves are off the trees. This is beautiful. Alright, so I wanted to show you this. On trails there's a system for the blazes. For example, this blaze tilts off to the right, which indicates that you're going right on the trail. Tilted off to the left, you go left. Sometimes you'll see them stacked like this, and that's going to indicate that you've got a turn coming up. There are different techniques on different trails, but it's kind of helpful to know what you're looking for there, just in case the trail is not well defined. This one is well defined though. So here we have an example of an old blaze and a new blaze. We're going straight down this hill, but if we were going to turn, the arrow would indicate the direction of the turn or the tilt of the new blaze. On the AT, what they'll generally do is have two stripes, one here and one here, indicating a left turn, or one here and here, indicating a right turn. There are parts like the Ozark Trail uses these discs, and they'll rotate them based on the turn, but there are areas of that trail where it's so easy to get lost, and I know, and that's because there are big storms that move through, lots of blowdown, or there's a fire, or just a section that somebody vandalized and took these for themselves, and you've got no markers, and it's not really, in certain parts of the Ozark Trail, not defined at all, especially when the leaves are on the ground. You just are walking through a forest of leaves. Without these, you really don't know if you're on the trail or not. Or I guess nowadays you could use GPS. I just haven't really gotten around to trying that out yet. I probably should someday. Carcinite. That's what that material is that those posts are made out of. I knew it was going to come to me sooner or later. Okay, so this is interesting. We're at obviously an old road bed. There are no markings here at all, but I do know that the last section of this loop joins the North Cuivre River Trail back to the trailhead, because soon after the trailhead, the two trails split, the Big Sugar Creek Trail and the North Cuivre River Loop. So this old road bed has to be part of that North Cuivre River Loop, which is also a horse trail, which would explain why it's as wide as it is. I could get out the map, but I'm fairly certain we're going that way. I want to show you something while I'm out here. I'm using a new technique on tying my shoelaces, and it's really working out well for me today. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I've done is I've started farther back. That allows more room in the toe box, give my toes some room to wiggle around in. Toes rubbing against each other is a common blister point. And then you have these on running shoes and trail shoes where you could tie it farther back and down to really cinch in your heel. This is a friction point that causes blisters as well. One of the other advantages to cinching in your heel is that it keeps the front of your toes from slamming into your shoes on the downhills. Some people lose toenails on the really long hikes because of that. And well, excuse the condition of these shoes. They're rated for 400 miles. I've got about 800 to 900 on them right now, but I'm not going to get rid of them yet. They just feel like they're getting broken in right now. Well, we're getting into the heat of the day. It's 1:30 now, and you can tell because the woods become much more quiet and still. Bugs are finished until it starts to cool off this evening. The birds are mostly quiet now too. There's an occasional bird here and there, but it's very quiet during the heat of the day in the summer out in the woods. No matter where I am, I've noticed it's that way. At least there's a breeze, and the sound of the leaves and the breeze. That's nice. Well, we're back to the trailhead, and I have to say I really enjoyed this today. It's been a long time since I've been here, brought back a lot of memories. It's beautiful here. I'd forgotten how pretty it actually is. I don't know why I'm always headed south when just a little bit north brings me to a beautiful area as well. But thanks for taking this walk with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and please join me for future ones. Bye-bye.